Christ talks about the inside of the cup's important. Remember, he condemned the scribes and Pharisees for their perfect conformity to all of the externals. And he talks about the heart of the human person, which was really important. But in those days, as I tried to speak of this, everybody kind of wrote me off, because at that time, the in thing was the behavioral sciences. They had all the answers. And I think they were perceived to have the answers because people didn't know about this rich heritage of the church, this great treasure chest. And so I took the behavioral sciences, and in particular, the area that was involved in moral judgment, which was started by the Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget and was picked up by Dr. Lawrence Kohlberg. In those days, they had 6 stages. Now, moral judgment is an internalization of principles, and so it corresponds to what I was talking about in terms of the spiritual life. It's an internalization of the principles of the gospel. Now, they had 6 stages. The first stage was fear of punishment. The second stage was the reward stage. I often refer to as the lollipop stage. The third stage was what we call role conformity or role expectation. It's where I refer to as the good boy stage, or the good girl stage, the good mother, the good father, the good teacher, the good priest. If I asked you what constitutes a good student, and you wrote down all the qualities that you consider to be what makes a good student, and then you tried to live that way, you probably would be caught in stage 3, conforming to expectations or a role outside of yourself. Stage 4 is law and order. It's where people there do things because that's the law. You ask them, why'd you do that? They say, well, the governor said so, the queen said so, my father said so, my mother said so, the priest said so, the bishop said so, the pope said so. It's always somebody else. And so I call it a cop-out stage, because you do things not because it's inside of you, but because it's outside of you. Now, those first 4 stages where externals dominate you. The 5th stage is what we call a contractual stage. It's involved, watch this now, it's involved in choice, commitment, and responsibility. It moves from outside, inside. And then the 6th stage is where we talk about the universality of the virtue of justice. It's the internalization of that virtue. Now, I saw a connecting link with this with spirituality, and so if we were to change the virtue of justice to the theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity, then we would see that there is also in the spiritual life the internalization of the good news and the need to operate from within the heart, as Christ said. And what is important is inside the cup. The old abbot used to say to us in the monastery, you do holy things all day long, but never become holy. Now, in our spiritual heritage, we have these great men and women describing the journey. They describe it through stages. Take Teresa of Avila. She has a series of mansions, so you can move from house to house, those of you who like to move around. And so they have this imagery, which is incredible, which can resonate with any one of you. And Teresa talks about a castle, and there are 7 mansions in the castle. And she says the first mansion is we enter it because we decide we really want to be good people. But as we enter that first mansion, we're still kind of hanging on. We're still kind of possessed of material things and all kinds of things. But then in that first mansion, we begin to realize that in order to be a good person, I really need God. And so I enter the second mansion, whereas when I begin to practice prayer. I practice prayer because I need God. And then I move to the third stage, with the third mansion, where I begin to experience growth in virtue, and I begin to experience that I can do good things and everything. But I'm still not ready to let go of my life to God, to really surrender Him, namely to really trust Him and to trust the Holy Spirit to guide me on this great, exciting journey. And then, if I do let go, then I move to the fourth mansion in Teresa's framework, where I really do surrender myself and I really do make an act of trust in God, and I let the Holy Spirit begin to take over my life, and I experience this incredible inner quietness within my own soul. And then that leads me to the fifth mansion, which is, for her, the mansion where there's union with God. And then that leads to the sixth mansion, where I begin to experience the incredible gifts and the working of God in my life. And then finally, the seventh mansion for Teresa of Avila is spiritual marriage. Now, Teresa says, it's kind of scary, she says, many begin, but never finish. And she said, most people get to the third mansion but never go to the fourth mansion because basically we have a problem of faith. They really won't trust God. They really won't let go of their lives. And there's a similarity between that movement from externals into interiority as there is with moral judgment. Now, in all the years we've been working with the Center for Human Development, almost 20 years, all of our research shows that most people are on stage 3 and 4 in that framework, either role conformity or law and order, which means that the real problem that we face today is trying to facilitate the internalization of the good news, the internalization of good news. Now, for the most part, we say yes all the time to these things, but we're unwilling to pay the price. Paying the price is the critical issue. For every viewpoint you have, you're going to pay a price one way or the other. And Cardinal Newman said in his time that most people are involved in what he called notional assent. We say yes with our head, but it's not really a yes because we don't pay the price. It's only when we say yes, what he calls a real assent, which is an assent of my whole being, that all of a sudden I have the power and the energy to pay the price for what I say I believe in. For instance, if we take the viewpoint and look at it in terms of history, at one point philosophy described the human person as a rational animal. Now, this was to distinguish you and I from animals, because we have an intellect and will. Now, out of that framework, there are consequences, and the consequences came in formation. So the emphasis was, we didn't want you to be like animals. We wanted you to be what makes you really human. And so the emphasis became training your head, your intellect, and your will up here. And from here down was what you young people say, no-no area. Don't deal with it. But from here down is all about emotions, feelings, sexuality, all these areas. And so we didn't really deal with it very well. Now, there's been a shift, and people today are saying, no, we really can't describe the human person as a rational animal. We really need to see that the human person is someone who is capable of and demands meaning. Meaning is the in word today. It's the key word. You say, gee, that's exciting. Well, yes, it is exciting, but also there's a price to be paid. Because if you say yes to that, then it means that if you're going to see that meaning is the key to your life, you're going to have to search for meaning. And searching for meaning means that you raise questions. A question leads to an answer, which leads to a new question. In the old days, we used to raise a question, and then came an answer, and then came a period. Or as you would say, you come full stop. Full stop. So the full stop, though, or the period, is really what we would really have to say is pride, because I won't let go. Somehow each of us has this human desire to arrive because we really don't want to be insecure. Now, there's nothing wrong with insecurity. Insecurity is part of all of us. We're all feeling insecure at times. But insecurity becomes a major block in being this person on a journey if you put the period there or come to full stop. And so you must go on even though at times you feel the pain and the struggle. All of us feel the pain and the struggle of being pilgrims on a journey, and especially wounded pilgrims on a journey. It's an exciting concept. It's an exciting concept. But again, we have to pay a price to be a pilgrim on a journey, always open to a certain amount of insecurity, willing to continually raise new questions and to search. It is difficult to let go of viewpoints and to open ourselves to the Holy Spirit and to move on in life. And so I leave you at this part of the program with a couple of questions. Where are you? Have you come to full stop in your life? Or, as I would say, have you put a period in your life? Or are you still willing to open your lives up and to ask new questions? Are you still willing to enter that journey, which is meant to be an exciting love affair with God and with people and with the world? Or have you closed it all off?